The Stones have arrived in Winnipeg. Alex Michaels talked with the band earlier tonight. That story is coming up.
We were there as Mick and the boys arrived in Winnipeg in a big Boeing 747. They arrived about 8:10, and to our surprise, Keith stopped and had a few words with us. Well, it's great to have you back in Winnipeg again, Keith. Of course, we saw you in '94.
I don't quite know yet, but yeah, it is a little chilly. It's always nice to be back.
Everybody's been really looking forward to see you here.
It was a pleasure to see landlocked.
Why did you pick Winnipeg as your first Canadian stop?
I don't know, going to find out. I could ask somebody. It's called logistics, though.
Well, the Stones are here, and earlier in the day, we talked to their production manager to see how the stage was coming along.
We're pretty much on schedule. As you know, this is only the fourth. No, it's the third stop on the tour. It's the fourth one, and we came in from Columbus, and until we got to your beautiful country here, we were not experiencing winds and rain. You know, it makes life a little difficult. We hope that it will die down a bit, but the schedule stays the schedule. The doors will open at 5, and there will be a show at 7.
Of course, there's going to be around 45,000 people here tomorrow. There still is tickets for sale.
Hey there, how are you? Nice to be back in Winnipeg. Oh, great. I haven't seen him for a while. For a long time. We hope to have a good time tomorrow night. See you then. How are you? Nice to be back in Winnipeg.
Tonight, rocking Winnipeg. Close encounters with the Rolling Stones.
That table came in, and I look over, and there's Mick.
The buzz around Winnipeg tonight centers on the Rolling Stones. They'll take to the stage at Winnipeg Stadium in just a couple of hours. Since their arrival in town last night, various Winnipeggers have reported close encounters with the legendary rockers. Our reporter Nancy Gregory is standing by live. She's been following the band today. So, Nancy, did you get a chance to meet the Stones?
Well, you know, Diana, I started this morning. I walked into the Lombard, and wouldn't you believe it, I saw this guy. He walked like Mick Jagger. He looked like Mick Jagger, a little on the young side, so I kind of figured out it was just a look-alike. So I've been that close. He's been pretty quiet today, but the energy here is absolutely incredible, especially for those Winnipeggers who've had a close encounter. Take a look.
They arrived in Winnipeg Monday night just before 8:30 on board their own chartered 747. Guitarist Ron Wood and Keith Richards, who had this to say about tonight's Winnipeg performance and their latest tour.
It's bigger, it's better, it's different. The band's kicking ass. Can I put it like that? You know, it's cool.
And, of course, the man himself, Mick Jagger.
How are you? Nice to be back in Winnipeg. Oh, great. I haven't seen him for a while. We hope to have a good time tomorrow night. See you then.
The chat was short, maybe because Mick was hungry. Shortly after arriving, he and 2 other members of his entourage came here to Amici's, a local restaurant. Mark Knight was their waiter.
That table came in, and all of a sudden I look over, and there's Mick. So just went over and served, tried not to be too excited or whatnot.
You try not to be, but what were you...
Oh, of course you're excited. Like, who wouldn't be? But, you know, you don't want to fawn all over the table. The guy's coming in for a quiet dinner. You don't want to jump all over him.
For those of you who must know, Jagger dined on beef, salad, linguine with shrimp, chocolate ice cream, and his choice of beverage, Evian water. And this was the table they sat at, today occupied by 2 priests. Okay, now, I just want you to know that you're sitting at the table that Mick Jagger sat at last night.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, he's sitting at my table because I'm a regular, and I always sit here, and I guess I'm pretty generous. I let him have it last night.
This is the 3rd time the Stones have been to Winnipeg, and it's the 2nd time limo driver Leonard Johnson had the chance to squire Jagger around town.
He's very personable, nice guy. I get to talk to him when he talks to me, and he asked a few questions about the city yesterday, about St. Boniface, and I told him the answers best I know. And made a couple of jokes that I won't repeat, but they were fairly decent jokes.
Outside the Lombard, it was pretty quiet. In fact, the Stones originally wanted to book 3 nights at the hotel, but the rooms weren't available, booked up for a convention. The only request, fresh flowers for all the rooms.
The media attention and brief appearances appears to be paying off in last-minute ticket sales.
How many tickets are you looking for?
Sales have been steady all day, and tickets will continue to be available right up until showtime. As for the stage, this afternoon, last-minute preparations were taking place. As the Stones look out into the crowd, they might recognize a familiar face. Dirk Kielman has come from Germany for his 144th concert.
The first time was in 1973 in Germany with Mick Taylor in the band. And then I go all around the world, like Brazil, Argentina, all around Europe and Canada and the United States.
Why?
Why? I think the Rolling Stones are the way of my life.
The way of my life, Diana. Could you imagine having a lifestyle like that? I could get into that, that's for sure.
That'd be okay. But you know, it's interesting. I know that you ran into people today who had no idea who was in town.
Well, a quick funny story. Father Clausen, who we spoke with, the father with him was very polite. As we were leaving, I saw him lean over to Father Clausen and say, "Who is Mick Jagger?" I thought that was so cute. He was really honest, and it was quite a precious moment, that's for sure. You know, we have another note. I know everybody was talking about the blues traveler and the bassist guitar Bob Sheehan. He appeared in court this morning. Apparently, it's alleged that police found a small amount of cocaine when customs was searching through his luggage. He appeared in court charged with possession and importation of a controlled substance. He was released on $5,000 bail. His lawyer says he will play tonight's show, and he will be able to continue playing throughout the tour. So that's a note from that end. And we'll have some more information for you a little bit later in the show, so stay tuned.
Now, I noticed you're not dressed too warmly. Are you okay, or are you kind of cold?
You know, actually, the sun has come out. The clouds have moved out, and right now it's feeling quite comfortable. But I'm sure as the sun sets, it's going to be a little bit cooler, so I would suggest maybe some jackets and, you know, maybe some gloves tonight as well.
Not a bad idea. Thanks,
Yeah.
Nancy.
Okay.
Sandy Coleman is, in fact, going to get tonight if you're planning to go to the concert.
Well, Diana, I would suggest you leave the midriff showing off outfits at home tonight, or at least add a couple of layers.
Oh, darn.
It won't be the night for that. It'll make perfect sense for Mick wearing a scarf tonight. I would forecast that by the time you find your seat and start getting some satisfaction, about 8 degrees. Then by the time it's all over, a cool 6 degrees. So you might want to even think football, although Mick Jagger doesn't usually come to mind for that. The winds should be great acoustically. Nothing much to tell you about. They'll be coming from the south, and that's what will keep things from going to freezing. As for precipitation, I'll go on a limb and say there will be none. The only that'll be felt in the stadium is if you're in the front row and Jagger works up a bit of a sweat.
Good point. Stand back.
The band's kicking ass.
Tonight, the Rolling Stones arrive in Winnipeg.
And customers of the oldest. And tonight, the veteran musicians that make up the legendary Rolling Stones arrived in Winnipeg. This is the first Canadian stop on their latest tour, Bridges to Babylon. And Global's Lisa Best was at the airport to greet them.
How are you? Nice to be back in Winnipeg.
After a 3-year wait, the greatest rock and roll band is now back in the peg.
We hope to have a good time tomorrow night. See you then.
By all indications, the Stones are very excited to kick off the Canadian leg of the Bridges to Babylon tour in the center of Canada.
It's bigger, it's better, it's different. The band's kicking ass. Can I put it like that? You know, it's cool.
The touring quartet and entourage move from city to city in luxury on this huge Boeing 747. The Bridges to Babylon CD release coincides with the Stones concert tomorrow in Winnipeg. How does Keith feel about the CD?
I'm not feeling bad. You know, you can bet on that. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, the record's coming out at a weird time for the tour fun, but in a way, I think it's good. You know, they give us time to break it in. You know, and we'll start working in some of the newer stuff as we go along, you know. So, but that's the musician talking about.
Are you going to be going out and picking it up tomorrow?
Hmm?
Are you picking up the CD in Winnipeg tomorrow?
I've got a couple of copies.
Since both the tour and the CD are new for fans, the Stones say a lot of tried and true hits will be on the concert's musical lineup.
You've got to feel your way, and then when you've seen the show and you know what we've got to deal with, I can't get into this, man. This is state secret. You'll have to wait and find out. But we're shifting numbers around. Everybody in the band's feeling real good, and we got off to a really good kickstart, you know, boom. So we're looking to go up.
And Richard says the most important member of the band is the one you don't see.
God joins the band every day, and he never rehearses, and he comes in any form that he likes.
Well, weather-wise, the Stones received a cool reception. But tell that to the dozens of stage workers who battled Mother Nature this morning to set up for tomorrow's concert. Wind gusting up to 90 kilometers an hour at the site lashed tarps and made aerial work on scaffolding and cranes impossible. Supervisors were on the phone to Environment Canada Weather Office looking for updated information on wind gusts and when the weather would clear. After some gimme shelter moments this morning, work crews were finally back at it. Foremen say the weather was a minor setback, but all will be A-OK for tomorrow night.
You know that we're going to be working 12, 13, 14 hours a day, so we kind of stopped, and instead we, look at it like in 30-minute increments to see when we'd start work.
Live from Winnipeg, this is...
It's cold, it's raining, and it's windy. The only satisfaction these beasts of burden get is knowing that the show will go on because it's so well thought out.
You know, when we do these shows, we just don't throw them together. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on engineering to make sure that the stage will take gusts of up to 100 kilometers.
You're bringing in 200...
Tonight, taking Winnipeg by storm, the Stones land in the River City. Going to school to try and stop Hawkside. Good evening. Many consider them to be living legends in the music industry. They've sold millions of albums. They've toured the world, and tonight their private jet touched down here in Winnipeg. This was the scene tonight at Winnipeg International Airport. The Rolling Stones' Bridges to Babylon tour kicks off its Canadian swing here in Winnipeg tomorrow night. Now, Mick Jagger and the Stones will hit the stage tomorrow at the stadium no matter what the weather holds.
We hope to have a good time tomorrow night. See you then.
It's bigger, it's better, it's just... The band's kicking ass. Can I put it like that? You know, it's cool. You know, you've got to feel your way. I mean, when you've seen the show and you know it's really what we've got to deal with. I can't get into this, man. This is a state secret. You'll have to wait and find out. But we're shifting numbers around. Everybody in the band's feeling real good. And we got off to a really good kickstart, boom. So we're looking to go up,
And Channel 5 News has learned exclusively that Robert Sheeham, a member of the Blues Travelers, the band that will open for the Rolling Stones tomorrow, was arrested by customs agents tonight at the airport with 2 grams of cocaine. Sheeham will appear before a magistrate tomorrow facing charges of importation and possession. Customs agents apparently made the seizure after finding the cocaine wrapped up in a $20 bill in Sheeham's pocket. Now, if you're...
From one windy city to another, crews have been working around the clock at Winnipeg Stadium for the return of the Rolling Stones. One of the biggest concerns is the strong wind that's been making the setup extremely challenging.
We're all designed and engineered on the show to take gusts of up to 100 kilometers an hour. So, it doesn't affect any production elements. It's just, it's more difficult to hang things in the air and they move around and to line things up.
At the peak of the Winnipeg windstorm, crews had to stop and wait until it was safe to continue. They're pushing to make up for lost time. But if all goes according to plan, this will look like this by showtime. And the Stones hope to offer their Manitoba fans something no one else has seen yet on this tour. Bursts of fire shot into the air, a $150,000 pyrotechnic effect.
So hasn't been used at all.
No. That's why we come to Winnipeg, because we want to use it.
Whether sparks will fly really depends on 2 things. An okay from the fire department, and of course, Mother Nature.
It's a propane effect, and everybody's a little area of propane. They say it's dangerous. It's exploded. It's explosive, and it'll do anything.
So far, the Stones haven't played or rehearsed in windy conditions, so Winnipeg could be a testing ground. The production manager says there haven't been any major mishaps yet, besides wet feet. But they've learned one valuable lesson: never book Winnipeg in September.
Now, if the wind doesn't die down, some adjustments may have to be made. The Stones don't want their giant screen to become a giant sail. They haven't set it up yet. And if the wind picks up between 60 and 70 kilometers per hour, they'll quickly take it down.
I've always liked the Stones. Always, when I was young. Go back when I was young. Never
think they'd last this long?
No, never.
I think this is one of the all-time best bands going, so it's good for the kids to see them.
How long you been a Stones fan?
Oh, since 1963.
You see them when they came in 66?
No, darn it all, I wasn't here.
Were you here in 94 for the Voodoo Lounge tour?
No, I had to work.
And you're here now.
You got that right.
They're an old band and we're older people.
You're turning
14.
and you're seeing your first concert.
Yeah.
So why the Stones for your first show?
Because I like them.
How did you find out about the Stones music?
My dad.
Has to be their last tour, no doubt about it.
In the crowd.
Well, for thousands of fans in Winnipeg, there's more to the Stones than just a concert. A stop here by the veteran rockers ranks right up there with a royal visit. With more on the rock and roll hype, here's Global's Joni Nicolo.
They're waiting to get the Rolling Stones on video or on paper.
I'd love to get him to sign my banners.
The crowd outside the hotel might not see the star, but they came pretty close. This Mick Jagger look-alike turned a few heads.
I would like him to take a look at me. I'm pretty sure he will get a good buzz.
How are you? Nice to be back in Winnipeg.
The rock and roll legends arrived in style last night in a jumbo 747. Winnipeg is the first Canadian stop on the Bridges of Babylon tour, and it's the first day the CD hits the record stores. But tonight's concert will stick to the classics.
It's bigger, it's better, it's different. The band's kicking ass. Can I put it like that?
On an $8 million set that can stand 100-kilometer-an-hour winds, the show got the okay for a pyrotechnics display. But almost everything else about the performance is a secret.
I can't get into this, man. This is a state secret.
3 hours before showtime, there was a sellout crowd of 45,000. This entertainment editor says concerts like this are good for Winnipeg.
Acts of this scale, shows of this magnitude, and the fact that they do so well only bodes well for us in the future.
So far, the only glitch seems to be with the backup band. The bassist for Blues Traveler appeared in a Winnipeg court after customs officials found traces of cocaine. Bob Sheehan was released on $5,000 bail and will perform as planned. This is the second time in 3 years that the Stones have played in Winnipeg. Music critics say it's proof that the city can handle concerts of this caliber. Joni Nicolo, Global News, Winnipeg.
Now for you, though.
5 News Noon Edition today. Did fans get any satisfaction out of last night's Stones concert? We'll show you what some of them had to say. But up next, a field of dreams.
Very few incidents requiring police at last night's Rolling Stones concert.
I can't get no satisfaction.
Oh, and neither did 5 Rolling Stones fans. Police arrested 2 men in their 40s for possession of marijuana. Another 3 people were detained for excessive alcohol consumption. All 5 left the concert early, accompanied by police officers. City police also received 4 noise complaints from area residents, obviously not Stones fans.
Got their money's worth.
I can't get no satisfaction. I got private in my heart. A man comes on the radio.
It was loud, it was exciting, it was the Stones. And that's who 44,000 people from both sides of the border came to see.
This was incredible. Incredible. The stage show was incredible. The show was incredible. I couldn't believe it.
It was incredible effects. The firecrackers and it was really good. And he changed about a zillion times into spandex and glitters. It was great.
The aging rockers performed hit after hit with youthful energy. For nearly 2.5 hours, Jagger strutted and danced for the crowd, proving that you're never too old to rock.
I think the amazing thing was having to remind yourself of how old he was. I couldn't get over how agile he was.
Music lasts forever, and rock and roll's been around longer than I have. And I mean, the Rolling Stones are older than me. Music's great. They're great. They'll never die. Yeah. Never.
says you can't always get what you want. Near the end, the Stones raised the roof as 2 cannons exploded during Jumping Jack Flash.
Well, I threw a little heat, kept us warm in our nice Winnipeg weather here.
Winnipeg Enterprises says this was one of the smoothest running shows ever, and the crowd, for the most part, was well behaved. Police charged 2 people for possession of marijuana and detained 3 people for drunkenness. Michelle Durkatz, Channel 5 News.
Well, the Stones chartered jumbo jet left Winnipeg International Airport before many of their fans had found their way out of the stadium. The band members and their entourage arrived in Edmonton overnight, their next Canadian stop. Hundreds of road crew members spent the night dismantling the huge $9 million stage at the stadium, packing it up into the waiting fleet of semi-trailers. The Winnipeg stage, one of 3 identical stages hopscotching the continent, is destined for Buffalo, New York. By the time most people passed Polo Park this morning during rush hour, all that was left of the huge performing venue was that steel skeleton. Now, Winnipeg is only one of 5 Canadian stops for the Bridges to Babylon tour.
After they play.
Sometimes I think it's just my imagination. You know, she was lost in the crowd.
That's a look at one of the new songs. It was a cool September night, but about 40,000 people were at Winnipeg Stadium last night to hear the Rolling Stones. The band, for all its years in the business, still generates a real buzz, but did they live up to the billing? In the crowd last night, our own Peter Jordan and Bartley Kivas of the Winnipeg Sun. Thanks to you both for coming to share your thoughts now. So, Peter, I'm starting with you. Had you ever seen the Stones live before?
No, this is my first time seeing the Stones, but I have to say I felt like I'd seen them before because, you know, I saw IMAX and, you know, I've seen them on TV. And to me, I was so high up, it was like little stone guys, big TV. Right?
But this screen was pretty good.
It was a good screen, and thank heavens for it, because otherwise I would have missed the whole thing. So for me, it was like watching it on TV. The sound was so good, it sounded like my records. I have to say the best part of the Stones is that they're so professional, they do such a great stage show, was for me kind of a letdown because nothing was new. I didn't, you know, I heard one new song.
Right?
There were 2 new songs. Was there 2?
Yeah.
Okay, this went out of control. I thought was the best part of the evening. I had never heard it before. Jagger went crazy.
He sure did.
He is the Gordie Howe of rock and roll, is he not? That guy's going to keep going forever.
All right, Bartley, here, we throw it to you. The Gordie Howe?
The Gordie Howe of rock and roll, and, you know, there's a big debate about Gordie Howe coming out of retirement.
Right.
Well, maybe should be an argument that Mick Jagger should retire. I mean, this is a show that was great, and it was a very excellent, fitting finale for this band. If they keep coming back with this, like The Who did with their umpteenth final tours, people are going to get a little bit sick. There's already, you know, lots of debate about why are they continuing to do this. It's not for the money. It's not to push a new album. They don't have to. So I'm not exactly sure I want to see this ever again, given the fact that it was good last night. It was a nice, fitting final memory.
Well, did it look distracting to you? I mean, I have to admit, I enjoyed the concert, but at one point I was looking and I was distracted by the fact that I kept thinking they're a lot older than me. and should they still be
Well, that may be a problem for you, Diana, but that's no problem for me.
Okay,
I'm happy to see old guys up there doing it really, really well.
Are you, though? That's my point. I mean, are they still rock and rollers, or do they look like guys who should have let it go a while?
They've been a corporate entity since the early 80s. This band hasn't really done anything spontaneous since the 70s, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think their age is an issue as much as it is that they haven't been doing anything musically relevant for a very, very long time.
But they're turning out new music.
Turning out new music is fine, but is it new music that speaks to people? They are arguably the most important rock and roll band in the history of this genre, and right now they've been a living parody since the early 80s. I would really, really, really hesitate to say that they've been making vital music, because they really haven't since the 70s.
Looks like you're getting last word. We have about 30 seconds left. Was it worth going to?
Absolutely. As a spectacle, it was fantastic, from the opening chords of Satisfaction when the propane thing flew off. I mean, these are consummate pros, and I loved, did you not, when they went out into the audience and did the little
club thing.
Yeah, the little club thing. That was almost the best thing. It was a quintessential Stones right there.
And it's a concert trend du jour. U2 did it. Apparently,
oh, did they?
Yes.
See, I don't get out much. but
it's the thing to do. You go, you do the little intimate side stage, and
worked for me.
Well, it was a great show, no questions, but I don't want to see it again.
Good enough. That's where we'll end it. Thanks to you both.
I'll take your ticket.